Hello friends and welcome to BISP Solution. My name is Ankita and today we will continue with the custom workforce planning. In custom workforce planning today we are going to cover predefined balance sheet drivers, then balance sheet KPIs that is balance sheet key performance indicators, and then we have the sandboxes. So first we will start with the predefined balance sheet drivers. So balance sheet drivers are both mixed and pure ratios. By a mixed ratio, we mean ratios calculated taking into consideration both P&L and balance sheet line items. And pure ratios means ratios calculated using only balance sheet line items. We use these drivers to project the future balance sheets. This helps us in the balance sheet drivers helps us in getting the balance sheet members' values. It derives the values of the members. Okay, now we will as we can see in the image below, the predefined balance sheet drivers are daily sales outstanding day, which is termed here as DSO, then days in inventory. The third one is prepaid expense percentage of operating expense. Fourth one is accrued compensation percent of total compensation. Then our fifth one is accrued expenses percent of operating expenses. Then the sixth one is the DPO, which is a daily payout outstanding. Lastly, we have number of days in period. Now we will understand each and every predefined balance sheet drivers in a detail, and we will see the calculation as well. So daily sales outstanding. Daily sales outstanding is the average number of days taken by the firm to collect payment from their customers after the completion of sales. As a business owner, we can also view DSO as the number of days it takes for credit sales to be converted into cash, or the number of days that receivables remain outstanding until they are collected. So the lower the DSO, the fewer days it takes the company to convert credit sales into cash, and the higher the DSO, the longer it takes the company to convert credit sales into cash, which shows that there is low liquidity. I will now take you to the Smart View connections sheet. Here we can see that I have written a member formula for it, in which we can see that the contract revenue, which is 41,000, is divided with the number of days, and similarly 45,000, which is other revenue, is also divided with the number of days. Then we are adding the product of these twos. After that, we were dividing the entire value with receivables. Okay, so here we have the value with us. So what exactly we are doing is we are basically multiplying the receivables with the number of days available to us. So here the number of days is 31, as we are calculating DSO for a month. Okay, after that we will divide this with the total of contract revenue and other revenue. So we will get the final value over here, which is 11 days. So our daily sales outstanding is higher over here. Okay, now we will see the days in inventory calculation. So first we will understand what days in inventory is. Days in inventory is the average time a company keeps its inventory before it is sold. So to calculate days in inventory, divide the cost of average inventory by the cost of goods sold and multiply that by the period length. Finding a company's days in inventory can tell you about its efficiency in terms of operations and finance. as it shows how rapidly a company can sell its inventory. A low day in inventory figure can indicate that the company is exchanging its product for cash quickly and that they are operating efficiently. Okay, so now I will show you how we are calculating days in inventory here. So here we have the member formula of calculation of days in inventory, in which the contract cost, in which we are multiplying the inventory with the number of period, and we are dividing it with the contract cost, material cost, and the operating cost over here. Okay, so here, so these cost, when we combine these all cost, it is equivalent to the operating cost. Okay, so in the application we have different heads with us. There is nothing to confuse in it. Okay, so what we are doing here is we are multiplying inventory to the number of days, and we are dividing it with the contract cost plus the material cost, and then the operating cost, which is a combination of operating cost in all total. So here we are getting 11.56 days, which when we will round it off, it will then become 12. I'll show you how it happens. I will round it off and show you. It will give you an exact 12 number of days. Okay, so this is how we calculate days in inventory. Then we have the prepaid expenses percent of operating expenses. So prepaid expenses refers to payment made in advance for the product or the services expected to be received on a later date. Then comes our operating expenditure, which are all the costs incurred that facilitates the everyday core operations of the organization. This is also known as OPEX. Okay, these expenses cannot be avoided as they enable the basic foundation of the activities that generate revenue. So here it is being calculated to know the percentage for the advance payment made by the organization out of the total operating expense. Okay, so this is how we bifurcate the prepaid expense with that of the operating expense. So I will show you how we have calculated the prepaid expense or percent of operating expense. So here we have the formula for the same. So here we are dividing the prepaid expenses to that of the total operating cost over here. Okay, it's simple. I think I don't need to explain. Anyways, I'll just show you. So here this is our prepaid expense, and we are dividing it with the operating cost, and then we are multiplying it with 100 to get it in a percentage form. So this is what we have got, and we will round it off 46.75%. We will exactly get the 47% over here. Then here we have another one, accrued compensation percent of the total compensation. So the total compensation is the collective compensation that organization provide to their employees in return of their services. Then accrued compensation refers to the amount of liability remaining at the end of the reporting period for compensation that have been earned by the employees but not yet paid to them. For example, the compensation for the month of for example, our financial year is FY23. Okay, so financial year begins from January and it ends in the month of December. Okay, so like for example, for the month of the December, the compensation will be crediting in the next year of FY24. So in that condition, in our balance sheet, the compensation for the month of December will be kept as accrued, will be shown it as accrued compensation in the balance sheet. under the head liability, and under that the non-current liability. So sorry, under the current liability. Okay, so then this information is used to determine the residual compensation liability of a business as of a specific point in time. It helps to analyze the outstanding compensation which is due for payment for the year, which is a part of the total compensation in an accounting year. Okay, so I'll show you how we are calculating that. So here we have the accrued compensation, uh, which will be divided with the workers' compensation. So here we can see that the worker compensation is 60,000, which is for the financial year FY22. Okay, for FY22, the compensation value is exactly 60,000. However, as I told you previously, that for the month of December, the compensation was not given to the employees till 31st of December. So in that condition, the compensation amount, which is 5,000, will be categorized as accrued compensation and will be shown in the balance sheet in the under the head liability, under the subhead current liabilities. Okay, I'll show you how it is. It will be shown in the liabilities under the head current liabilities. Okay, so this is how it has been presented in the balance sheet. But the only 5,000 value will be shown in it. So here in the given case, the accrued compensation is 8%, which is a very nominal amount. Now we have the accrued expenses percentage of operating expenses. So the accrued expenses in accounting terms refers to an accounting term refers to an expenses that is recognized on the books of accounts before it has been paid. The expenses is recorded in the accounting period in which it is incurred. So it helps to so this helps us to analyze the accrued expenses out of the total operating expenses, as we did previously in case of the accrued compensation expense to that of the total compensation percent. Okay, similar thing we are doing here. So here, for example, the total operating expense for the financial year 22 is 1,54,000, and out of which for the year for that for the at the end of the month, we can see that 10,000 is due for payment. So this will be considered as the accrued expenses. Okay, which will be paid in the next month, that is in the next coming month, that is in the month of February. Okay, so here when we divide accrued expenses to that of the total operating expenses, we will get the accrued expense percent of operating expenses. So here we have 6% as the ratio. Then we will move forward to the days payable outstanding. So days payable outstanding measures the number of days a company takes on an average before paying outstanding suppliers or vendors invoices for purchases made on credit. So days payable outstanding is a key financial metric for tracking and managing cash flow. A high DPO is generally favorable because it means more cash is available to fund the operations. So now we'll see the calculation of DPO here. As we did previously in case of days in inventory and in DSO, similarly here we are doing the same calculation in that manner. So here we are dividing our account payables with the number with the cost, contract cost, material cost, and operating cost, and we will be multiplying that with the number of periods. So I'll show you how we are doing that. So account payable will be multiplied with the number of days, and this will be divided with the contract cost plus material cost plus the operating cost. Okay, so here now I will show you the how it is being calculated here. So here I'm calculating the account pay. I'm dividing the I'm multiplying account payable with the number of days. Here we can one more thing I wanted to tell you, that here we can see that the here we have no product for the for the input of number of days in a period. Okay, so why? So because in the member formula here we can see that the number of days in period is an intersection with the no product. Okay, so here we have used this. Now I am going to divide this with the contract cost plus material cost and lastly the operating cost. So basically these all these three costs, that is contract cost, material cost, operating cost, the combination of these costs are cost of sales. Okay, so this is being used for the calculation of daily payable outstanding. Okay, so we are getting 4 days in a month, which is very low. Okay, now this was all about the drivers, balance sheet drivers. Okay, now I will take you to the instance and I will show you how where we have the members in the account dimension. So first I will go to the navigator, then to the dimension. Here we can see that the account dimension is visible to us in the ribbon. So here I will select the plan 1. In the plan 1 I will go to the financial accounts, then in the balance sheet planning. Here we have the member name balance sheet drivers. When we will expand it further, we have predefined balance sheet drivers. So here we have all the members. So we can add the member here. I'll show you. We can add the member here directly also with the help of this two members in the ribbon, that is add child and add sibling here. Okay, then we can give the member properties in it. Okay, so here the data storage should be dynamic calc, and after that we will mention the member formula, and I will select the Q, and here we can mention the member formula as I had shown you in the Excel sheet previously. So this is how the member is being added into it. Now I will take you to the form. So for that I will go to navigator, then I will click on forms. Okay, now here I'm going to create a form for it. So by clicking on this plus sign I can add a form here. So I will name the form as balance sheet drivers actual. Okay, so we are considering it for cube 1. Okay, plan 1. Okay, after that I will click on next. Let me reduce the size as it will be easy for me to access it. Okay, so here we have the layout with us. Oh, it's a bit difficult. Balance sheet drivers, actual. After that I will click on next, and then I will go to the POV, and from there I will drag accounts into the row, and then here I will drag the period in the columns, and then the year, and lastly I want the scenario to be here as well. So I will drag the scenario as well over here. Okay, now I will take the department into the page and entity, also lastly product as well. I want it in the page. So here I'm going to use the department. For department I'm going to select the total department and its descendants. Similarly for entity I will be selecting here the Sanskar entity and their including their descendants. Similarly I'll do with the products as well, so I will be selecting the total products and its descendants over here. Then for accounts I will be selecting in financial accounts. I will then select the balance sheet planning. In balance sheet planning I will select the balance sheet drivers over here, in it predefined balance sheet drivers. Okay, so here I only want the children of predefined balance sheet drivers, so I will be selecting here the children's. Then here we have the scenario with us, so I want the actual scenario over here. Here I want the year as FY22, which is historical, in which we have the historical data. I want it for the period only for January, for example. Here we can even consider the year total as well, but for now I only want January. And the version here we will be selecting as working version. After making the changes into the form, I will save it. I also want areas for the product dimension, for department dimension and the entity dimension. So here in the dimension properties I will enable the alias for these three members. After that I will save the changes that I have made into the form. I will preview it. Okay, so here we have all the issues with us. Okay, so we can even view this after finishing it. I will close the form and then I will go to the data over here. In the data we have balance sheet drivers actual. Okay, we can see all the drivers with us over here. Okay, so this was all about our drivers. Now we will move forward to the balance sheet key performance indicators. So first of all, let us understand what key performance indicators are. Key performance indicators refers to a set of quantifiable measurements used to gauge a company's overall long-term performance. Specifically, it helps determine a company's strategic, financial, and operational achievements, especially compared to those of the other business within the same sector. So some of the balance sheet KPIs are return on assets, return on net assets, return on invested capitals, cash ratio, working capital, current ratio, quick ratio, debt ratio, and many more. So I'll show you this in our instance. Okay, so here we have. So here I will take you to the dimension first. I will show you where we have allocated the KPIs. So in the financial accounts, here we have the KPIs in the balance sheet planning. Here it is visible to us. After expanding it, we will see that we have the members here as cash, return on assets, return on net assets, return on invested capital, cash ratio, working capital, current ratio, quick ratio, debt ratio, return on equity, long-term debt to equity, working capital turnover, gross margin ratio. So these are all the balance sheet KPIs. Okay, so how we can, as I have shown you previously in case of drivers, how we can add the member into it, and similarly in this also we are going to give the member formula. So here we have already given the member formula for all the members. Okay, so this is our member formula. I'll show you some of the examples as it is not possible to explain each and every KPI, so we have some example with us. So here we have the return on net assets. So basically, let us first understand what a return on net asset is. It measures the financial performance as it shows how well a company and its management are deploying assets in economically valuable ways. Higher ratios result indicate that the management is squeezing more earning out of each dollars invested in the assets. Okay, so the formula for return on net assets is net income will be divided with the fixed asset plus net working capital. So here the net working capital consists of net working capital net working capital consists of the current assets which will be subtracted with the current liabilities. So this is how we calculate the net working capital. Okay, so here we have the fixed assets, the current assets, and the current liabilities. So I'll show you how we have calculated the return on net assets over here. So what we have done is we have divided the net income with the fixed assets. I'll take it in a bracket with fixed assets and current assets, and here we have subtracted the current liabilities. Here it is named as liabilities non-interest bearing and the current debt. Okay, this will be multiplied with the 100 to get the percent. So when we will round it off 48.7179%, we will exactly get 49% as the value here. Okay, similarly we will see the return on invested capital as well. So here the return on invested capital is used to assess a company's efficiency in allocating capital to profitable investment. It gives us a sense of how well a company is using its capital to generate profit. So how we are calculating the return on invested capital, or here it is named that, okay, is net income will be subtracted from the dividend paid, as we can see here in the member formula, and this whole amount will be divided with the total debt plus equity. Okay, so here the debt plus equity, so when we say total debt plus total equity, it is equivalent to the asset, as we have discussed it earlier, that asset is equals to equity plus liability. This will be subtracted with the cash, which the excess cash which we hold in with us, then the liabilities which are current in nature. So here what we are doing is the total asset is being subtracted from the cash available with the organization, with the account payable, accrued expenses and current debt. I'll show you how if you want me to explain that. So here what we will be doing is net income will be subtracted with the dividend paid. And this will be divided with the assets which the organization hold. Oh, there is a problem in the smart view connection. Okay, so here what exactly we were saying is invested capital. Okay, so how we are calculating invested capital here, let us discuss that. So what we will be doing is we will first subtract net income with the dividend paid. Okay, then we will consider the assets, and this will be subtracted with the sum of cash, account payable, accrued expenses and the current debt. Okay, now we will divide this to this net income minus dividend will be divided with the net assets we have, and will be multiplied with 100. So here we are getting exactly 42.3076%. Okay, so this is how we calculated return on invested capital. Now we will move forward to our next topic, which is the sandboxes. So as we can see in the image which is available to us, the three persons are sitting in a sandbox working in their separate environment. So with the help of this image, we can say that sandbox enables users to keep their work space private as they develop their plans. Users may want to privately experiment with various outcomes in a sandbox without having others see their numbers until they have completed their analysis. When they are ready to make their numbers public, they publish the data in the sandbox. How we can enable sandboxes here? We have two ways. First one is while creating the application, and the second one is while creating a custom block storage cube. Okay, so here in the image which is available to us, we can see that while creating a cube, that is a block storage option, we have an option to enable the sandboxes over here. Okay, So these are the two ways to enable the sandboxes in an application. Then we have the HSP view dimension. So when we enable the sandboxes in an application, we will get a dimension named HSP view. Okay, so HSP view have three members. So first one is the base data member. Base data member defines the data intersection when users are working in non-sandbox view or base view in a form. Then the second one is the sandbox data. Sandbox data member stores the data when users work in a sandbox. Then lastly we have the consolidated data, which is dynamically calculated. It retrieves data from the sandbox member when it is available. Otherwise, it retrieves data from the base data member. So the dimensions or its members cannot be altered and the members should not be reordered. It should be kept as it is. Then we have how we can enable sandboxes in the version dimension. So sandbox member is automatically created in the version dimension when it is enabled. Okay. So if I want to enable a sandbox in the working member as it is shown in the image, I will click on edit after selecting working member. Then I will enable sandboxes and refresh the database. After that, we will find new member named sandboxes working under the parent member sandboxes. Okay, so the data is stored at the intersection of the user sandbox and the HSP view member sandbox data. So, so now we will understand how sandbox works in three easy steps. So while in the data form, we need to click on the plus icon as I have highlighted this in the image to create a new sandbox. Then we can name the sandbox and can these we can create a name into it, like for example case 1. Okay, then the sandbox will appear as the next tab to the original tab. Then enter the data in the sandbox and view the impact on the other accounts or forms. Then after that we will go to the action. In the action we will select sandbox and we will publish the data. So when we publish the data, the sandbox data will be shifted to the base data. I'll show you this a little later with the help of an example. So lastly we have the how we manage sandboxes. So in the PBCS system, administrator can manage all sandboxes that were created by all the users and can see the following informations. So data in all the sandboxes are visible to the administrator, which version member the sandbox is based on, who created each sandboxes, when the sandboxes were last modified. Okay, so all these details are available for the administrator to view it. Administrator can also delete any one sandbox. So how we reach to the manage sandbox, we have the path over here that first we will go to the overview, then to the actions and then manage sandboxes. Now I will take you to the instance and will show you how it works. So first of all I will take you to the dimension and show you the dimension here named HSP view. Here we have the three members: consolidated data, base data and sandbox data. Then we have the version dimension Here I have shown you as shown in the slide before, that we have a member name sandbox, and here we have enabled sandboxes for what if member, base member, final and working members of the version dimension. So I'll show you how we have done that. I will click on the working, then I will go to edit, and here we can see that we have an option of enable sandboxes. I have ticked on it, and after that I will refresh the database, and then we can see that the sandbox underscore working is visible to us under the sandbox parent member. Okay, so this is how we make the changes in the dimension. Now we will go to the data form. So here I will go to the data. I will then go to the data form, name plan, then here we have a balance sheet plan. Okay, so here we can see that I will take you to the edit first. In the layout, we can see that the version dimension is available to us in page. So if we want to enable this sandbox option in the form, we need to keep our version dimension in the page. So then only we can create we will get this green plus sign to create a sandbox. Okay, so after that I will click on this plus sign and will mention it as case 1. For example, I'm creating a sandbox named case 1 over here. Okay, now what I will do is I want to add a member into it, 15,000, 25,000. Okay, after adding the member I will save it. So here we can see that the member is visible in somewhat slightly pinkish color because we have added the member in the sandbox version. Okay, so after adding the member, if I want to publish the data, I will then go to the action, then to the sandbox, and then I will publish the data. So what will happen is the data which we have added recently in the month of February will be shifted to the base data view. Okay, and will be published. So this is how it works. Okay, now I will take you to the overview, and then from action I will select the manage sandbox. So here we can see that we have created a sandbox member named case 1, which whose base version is working and is being created by the administrator, which is last modified as we have done it today. So the date is also mentioned to us. Okay, so here if an administrator want, as we are working in an admin mode, so if we want we can delete the sandbox which we have created. So are you sure to delete? I will then click on OK and see that what the sandbox that we have created is now not visible to us. Okay, it's been deleted. So this is how the sandbox basically works. uh, I hope I'm clear. So for any more queries, please feel